We've just got a new Star Wars Shatterpoint article about stat cards, and that sounds boring, but the article itself I think is very interesting. I just had a read over it and I'm very excited actually. So let's jump in and talk about it. So while this article is meant to be about the stat card, there's a lot of information in it that is going to be very important when it comes to the game. We find out how damage and wounds are actually going to work in the game a little bit. So basically the way that it works is when you take 11 damage, you will then suffer 1 wound. In this case, 11 being the stamina that Anakin Skywalker has, right? Obviously other cards will have other amounts. And the durability is how many wounds you can suffer before you are removed. So in theory, Anakin needs to take 33 damage before he's actually removed. Now the durability is important because the wounds are going to have an effect on gameplay, hence why it's not just 33. Either way, that's very interesting. Now we'll have a closer look at these abilities in a minute, but let's just talk about how they work and what the type of abilities are. So this symbol basically means an active ability. This is something that just happens at the start of your activation. If it says action, that means it uses one of your actions. I'm going to guess you get 2 actions, but that's actually not that clear at the minute. And it's going to have a force cost. Reactive abilities, they trigger when something specific happens, and each player can only react once to a single event happening. Now they do say here that it always has a force cost. Now that force cost can be 0, and this is important. So when I actually scroll up, if I have a look at deflect for example, there is no force cost. However, that is technically force cost 0, and that is important when we talk about wounds in a second. Innate are basically innate abilities. They don't have a force cost, and you just have them effectively all of the time. And there's different types of innate abilities. So tactic is a specific type of innate ability that allows different units to work together. Identity is basically a unique ability that primary units have. So let's quickly jump back to Anakin, and we can see force jump is a active ability, and it costs 1 force token, basically 1 force power. I'm going to end this as a reactive ability, and that actually costs 2. Deflect is a reactive but costs 0, and the identity ability is just on all the time. Now what happens is when you suffer a wound, so you basically get 1 durability, I guess you could look at that, all of the costs of the force ones go up by 1. So force jump will be 2, I'm going to end this would be 3, deflect would be from 0 to 1, and the identity would still be 0, right? Because it doesn't use force abilities, or force tokens, whatever you want to call them. Force jump, each character in this unit gets 2 jump, pretty much. I'm going to end this, sounds really powerful. Basically, after this unit makes a combat action, it may use this ability. One character in this unit may make an attack targeting one of the same enemy characters within range and line of sight. Basically, if you're thinking about Legion, you're getting a second attack. It's like Luke Skywalker and that kind of thing. That could be very strong, hence why it costs 2 force powers. Or force tokens. I'm never going to get used to that, right? And I think deflect says after it looks like a gun attack targeting a character in this unit was resolved, this unit may use this ability. If the attack roll contains one or more of this type of dance, then the attacking unit suffers this symbol, which I'm guessing might be stamina wounds, or you know what I mean, not wounds but stamina damage. And then this is where the fun begins. This is his identity, so this is only Anakin Skywalker has this, or basically it's because he's a primary he has this. When a character in this unit wounds an enemy primary unit or secondary unit, after the effect is resolved, move the struggle token 1 space towards your momentum token. Then if the wounded unit is a primary unit, each allied Galactic Republic character may, and I cannot work out what that little symbol is. Some of you in the comments will already know. I actually don't know. They do give us a little hint of what a tactic ability might look like. Bo-Katan and I think Gar Saxon both have this one, Pride of the Mandalore. At the start of this unit's activation, choose another allied Mandalorian character. The chosen character may, and that symbol is jump, right? Because it's one from what Anakin has. So you can basically make other Mandalorians jump for free. Really powerful it looks like. And then when it comes to the actual combat, well, things are looking like it's going to get crazy. They're going to talk about this in another article. All they've shown us is these like combat cards, which is what every unit's going to get. And some of the stuff on here looks interesting. They have like combat trees, so it looks like maybe you're going to have to do this first, and then subsequently it's going to be like a combo, I'm guessing, that you can then pick which one you're doing. I don't quite get it, but it's very, very fascinating. Obviously, we're not supposed to know this yet, or like we're not really aware of the full details, but these are the character stance cards. Some of them are double-sided, normally primary unit. I mean, I can work out some of this, right? So obviously Maul here has a ranged attack. I'm not sure what the dash means. I'm not sure what the numbers mean at the minute, because the one at the top is surely the attack dice and the one at the bottom is the defense dice. Does that mean he has 5 defense damage when it's a ranged attack? Maybe. And then the one at the top is maybe what he can do as a ranged attack. And actually, it's a dash, so maybe he cannot do a ranged attack. maybe these characters here can't do ranged attack, but he can probably do a melee attack, which I guess would make sense, and he'll roll 7 dice perhaps. Very, very strong maybe. But then what this whole stance thing is and how that's going to work, I have absolutely no idea. Either way, it's very intriguing how this system's going to work. It's basically like 33 wounds, you could think of it like that in normal typical games. However, what it actually is you hit 11 stamina, that suffers 1 durability, that then causes some of your abilities to be higher cost. Now, the worrying thing about that higher cost to me is that it sort of implies you're going to want to use your force early on, but then both sides are going to do that. You could, in theory, sacrifice the first struggle or whatever it's called and try and win the second 2. But by that point, maybe you've actually taken so much damage that you can't get your firepower off because your wounds are going to be high and it means your force cost is going to be high. It's going to become very interesting. I do worry that basically it's just going to be very simple and people are just going to blast everything at the first round, and whoever sort of wins that first round and starts owning will just snowball. But then you've got the missions that are sort of going to counteract that. We'll have to wait and see, right? I need to play it before I can really make any kind of judgment, so I will give them the benefit of the doubt there. I was a little bit confused when they said that this ability has a force cost and then there wasn't actually a force cost, but that's because 0 counts as a force cost. What it's telling you when it says it has a force cost, it means that once you suffer that durability, then it will actually go up by 1. So going up from 0 to 1, if that makes sense. All in all, I think that one is actually a very good article. I've been very happy with what we've seen lately when it comes to the missions, even though the article itself was a little bit confusing. The gameplay sounds really good as well. And now this ability system, yeah, I'm actually getting behind it a lot more than I thought I would be. I think Adepticon's just around the corner. I think it's maybe towards the end of this month. I'm not 100% sure when it is. According to Google, it's the 22nd of March. So about 15 days or something like that. But yeah, very happy with what I've just read. Very pleased with that. I think it sounds really cool. I'm sure they've considered the balancing that I'm worried about, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below though. I hope you have a most beautiful day. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.